All right, so let's call to order the special board meeting for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors. Today's Tuesday, July 8th. We're meeting in the hearing room in Melody Lane. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, public will have access to the meeting room 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion of possible actions. Members of the board may attend in person or via Microsoft Teams. Members of the public may also attend this meeting via Microsoft Teams or the mobile app. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak on any agenda item, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. And we'll begin with a roll call. District 1.
Crosby's here.
District 2.
Gomez is here.
District 3. Antonori is here. All supervisors are present and in person. So we have one consent agenda item. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda item number 1, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve consent agenda item number 1.
Second.
All right, so the motion, any discussion? Sorry. None? All right. The motion before the board is to approve the consent agenda item number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay. Now it gets sporty here. All right, so do we move it before we do the public hearing?
Always make the motion first.
Yeah, all right, so let's do the motion for item number 2.
Mr. Chair, I move we adopt Resolution 25-18 to adopt the final county budget for fiscal year 2025-2026 in the amount of $293,120,335. This amount is composed of $110,643,585 in general fund and $182,485,750 in special revenue funds. Approve the funding request set forth in the attached exhibit.
He's reversed a couple.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe the...
I'll just read it all over.
All right, go ahead.
Adopt the resolution. I move we adopt Resolution 25-18 to adopt the final county budget for fiscal year 2025 to 2026 in the amount of $293,120,335. This amount is composed of $110,634,585 in general fund and $182,485,750 in special revenue funds, and approve the funding request set forth in the attached exhibit.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay. So I don't know what day it was that, I guess it was one of the very few, maybe one of the ones that I missed, in where my peers here, my supervisors, decided to reduce the enhancement funds, which I don't like that name. I think it's more community needs fund, from $75,000 to $25,000. And I have not understood when that happened and what came out of that discussion and what was the parameters in which I could then work with, what kind of amount I could work with, what I could ask for. And so therefore, I feel that I am asking for my community needs fund back. And the reason is these proposed funds support initiatives that benefit the districts, right? And even at the county at large. They address urgent and small-scale community needs to meet the unique challenges and priorities of the residents. It supports local nonprofit programs, civic initiatives, or cultural activities, fills funding gaps in underserved areas. It supports youth programs, food banks, senior services, signage, community events, essential community facilities, particularly in rural areas, supports small business and economic growth, and fire safety equipment. It's responsive aid. It allows supervisors to act quickly on constituent requests or unforeseen needs. Local empowerment. It strengthens the supervisor's engagement with the community by directly supporting local level projects. Its visibility and transparency can demonstrate tangible returns on taxpayer dollars. Equity and inclusion helps direct resources to marginalized or underserved areas. As one of the poorest regions in both the U.S. and Mexico, The Arizona-Sonora border region struggles with high rates of poverty, low post-secondary education completion rates, and high food insecurity. Stats from Stanford Data Commons and University of Arizona show that Douglas poverty rate is the highest in the county of all the cities, and significantly higher than the national average. To give you an example, Porterville, 33.64% of the population is in poverty, below poverty level. Naco, 31%. Douglas, 30%. Now, Porterville and Naco are not considered, they're like rural areas, so they're not considered within the other stats that I told you. So Douglas is at 30%. Bisbee is at 20% out of 6,000 people. Tombstone is at 13% out of 1,200 people. South Arizona Commission on Poverty Report 2022 from U of A study of 41 communities in Arizona and children living at below poverty level. Douglas is second of 41 for children under 5 at 53%. The number one is Duncan. Douglas is second of children from 5 to 18 at 45% live in poverty level. It is fourth out of 41 between 18 and 64-year-olds at 23%. And 65 plus, it's second out of 41 at 22%. When you look at families, it's second out of 41. Families are 24.6% below the poverty level in Douglas. Families with children under 5, 44%, third out of 41. Female head of household, 44.9% live in poverty level, second out of 41. The median age of Douglas is 32 years, let's say 33 years, and Naco is 29.5. It's a young, probably the one area where you have the youngest group of people. Douglas is 85.44% Hispanic, and Naco's 83. So what would I use these funds for? Porterville is operating with a fire truck from 2008, yet they're on every call that's required for a fire. They're entirely volunteer. They support, what they need is they need an asphalt. They have this truck, they go and put it out in the dirt and gravel, wash it, it gets dirty. They need an asphalt so that the 2008-year-old fire truck they have can easily be stored, can have a runway kind of come out of their building, which they built all on their own. They need some fire equipment for their firehouse, like I said, which was built with their own funds. McNeil and Double Adobe, that community faces severe poverty and an aging population that has really literally no medical care. I've been out there in McNeil many times when I was campaigning to see women coming in barefoot, delusional. They're living out in the middle of nowhere. There's no real community service. There's no community center. There's nowhere they can go to for help. So John Breyer, who is the one that owns the little McNeil store and is in the Republican Party, ends up buying them clothes, helping them with the doctor. They want to do a community center for these people, and it's really needed. There's also the Traveling Farmers Market food truck. That area, they're trying to bring food sustainability back to our area. That's going to be real crucial in the future, is food sustainability, because we're in what they call a food desert. Naco, to enhance tourism efforts centered around Camp Naco. Douglas, to invest in the economic development initiatives related to the port of entry. Bisbee, to support infrastructure to better connect the areas of Lowell, Warren within Bisbee, and other communities to provide assistance with trash cleanup and offer support for proper trash disposal services. So if you notice on the third page is a letter from the mayor, how the money that I was able to contribute to the Boys and Girls Club it helped establish that. It gave it weight with the Sierra Vista. They are going to actually be helping Douglas set up. That $10,000 I gave them was able to create the $200,000 that they needed to have in a bank that's set aside there that all, Boys and Girls Clubs require to be able to operate. So, as the statistics show, Douglas is an underserved area. It's poor, and when you look at Naco, Porterville, McNeil, and Elfrida, my issue is that in the past there's been no real leadership to bring economic development to this area, to create jobs. So we are left in this vacuum where there's nothing for these people to do. 70% of the people in Douglas are some kind of government assistance. Until we can bring economic development back, until we can provide jobs, we're just going to see that increase and increase. This enhancement community needs fund can help give hope to the people, get them set on the right track, and so we can hold out. So when this Board of Entry comes, and as everyone says, 10,000 jobs are coming to Cochise County, let's hope it's at least 1,000, that this sets up that kind of little wood of a net. It's not much money, but it goes a very, very long way to the people who live in this community in District 2. So if you read would you like me to read the letter from the
I got
mayor?
it.
You got it?
So do you have a suggestion to offset that 150K from somewhere else in the budget so we don't have to raise?
Well, we just did, didn't we? When we didn't have the.
No, that was a flood control district.
Flood.
So we're talking about, so somewhere else in the county budget.
So can you tell me what you two decided? Because I never did get the information on, was there any money for that community needs? How was it going to be set up? Because that's what I don't know also.
So it was just a 75K that this is me speaking, felt was something that was potentially used for non-functions of government, right? So I didn't want to spend taxpayer dollars on those types of things. Mr. Crosby and I, when we were there, I don't want to speak for Mr. Crosby, but we were like, if we have an emergency or if we have a need, we have the contingency fund, we could always put a motion before the board if you have an issue to say, hey, I'd like to spend a certain dollar amount to go do this or this or this, that we have the function and the ability to do that.
So
And
how
there
much?
wasn't a need.
How much is
for-
in the contingency
It
fund?
was 70. Well, there's like 19 million.
Okay, so like I would assume that to be able to agree to that, I would have to know what the restrictions are, what you would accept as far as the money. I mean, I'm not going out there wanting to spend the 70,000 like, let's just, daisies in the air and butterflies and let's just have a great time. I see it where it really makes a difference in the community, especially for the children, for the youth. And if you look at the median age in Douglas is very young.
Yeah.
Right? And so until we can bring that kind of economic development that we don't need to do any of this, I mean, you guys don't want to use yours, right? You don't.
Well, that's why we left 25K in there.
So you guys gave up 50 each, right?
We gave up 50, 50, and 50.
Yeah, you gave my 50 up. So what I'm saying, this is right there. That's how I can find the extra 50 of the 50 the 100 that you guys give up.
No, because we already gave up the 150 to offset the budget. So in order to put that money back,
No, you gave up 100 because you each kept 25.
150.
Okay. Which was mine included.
150, right.
150.
Right.
Okay.
So,
So now I want 50 back.
okay. So
Okay. Well, that is like, I wish I would have known this stuff so I would have been able to find it. I don't know. How do I go about doing this to find $50,000?
So there are a couple information items I want to give to the board.
Sure.
I want to clarify for the public that this discussion between Supervisor Crosby and Supervisor Antonori did take place during the Board of Supervisors work session on the budget. So it wasn't a public meeting. It wasn't anything that was determined outside of a public meeting. That direction was given to staff during that work session back in, I want to say, late April. Supervisor Gomez, you were out of town and unable to attend remotely. Secondly, there is a policy on the community enhancement funds that the board approved back in 2020, and it lays out the criteria for use of those because it should not be interpreted as a gift to any one organization. So that does lay out that these projects can be used for multi-use paths, hazard abatement, county maintained road improvements, streetlights, natural resource projects, transit support, assistance with right-of-way costs, public work projects. Anything outside of that list requires unanimous board approval. So every board member fills out a form, we put it on the action agenda, and the board approves. We've seen that happen in the past. As for how to handle returning Supervisor Gomez's full $75,000 amount that she had previously in the budget, we could pull it from contingency because that's where we just moved those funds to as we created the budget. So you're not increasing the budget because we can't do that today. But we are moving it from contingency.
Then I suggest that, so 25,000 is in the fund now, correct? For all three of us.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm just requesting 50,000 to go back. And again, I didn't spend everything that the 75,000 from this past one. I think I only spent about, I might have returned 15 or 20,000. I can't remember exactly.
Correct. So I don't know the exact amount you have left in your budget, but
I think it's
the
about
policy
15.
also does not allow for carryover from year to
Right.
year within a supervisor's enhancement funds. So it just moves to contingency at the end of the year.
So let's say 15,000 was returned, right? So if I could get that 15,000 that was returned back to the 25, and then I'm only looking at what?
35K.
Asking 35K. For an area that has been, to my view, completely forgotten in the past years as far as Board of Supervisors. An area that is truly the second, and you saw these high stats in poverty level, children of 5, female households, just even families. We have to have some, and I understand what you're saying, that you don't believe government should support communities in this kind of way. But until you provide jobs in that, it's kind of like there's been 40 years, 30 years since the mines closed of nobody doing anything. And this is just a little amount.
Mr. Crosby.
Unfortunately, we don't have Ms. Traywick here, but maybe she could shed some light on what is the ratio of property taxes or overall taxes, sales tax and property tax, coming out of District 1 versus coming out of District 2 versus District 3. But I think that we can all accurately assume that District 1 puts the most into the county coffers.
That's true, but you also have you have businesses there, you have an industry, you have growth. This Board of Supervisors in the past has not done the same for Douglas.
Since the District 1 puts more money into it than the other two districts, that means that, and whatever it is, let's say it's 40% instead of 33%, whatever it is. So that extra amount goes into your community enhancement fund with a greater ratio coming out of District 1.
Well, I don't know if we can actually say that for sure, because we may have a lot of people, there's 16,000 or let's say 13,000, because 3,000 is from the prison. 13,000 people live in Douglas and own homes and have businesses. And so, yet we don't have the economic growth to be able to lure businesses, and we lost a grocery store. They're showing a study that the purchasing power of the area of Douglas and McNeil, how much is lost because they go to Sierra Vista because you have 3 or 4 different grocery stores there. There's a lot to just the more than, oh, well, this is how many people pay property taxes. It's called economic development. You guys are always having new stores come in. You're having new businesses. We don't. And that's because we have been forgotten for a long amount of time, and it's a big vacuum. And we're having to struggle from being at the very bottom of the pit to try to come out of it, to be able to provide jobs so that we don't have to do these type of things.
Okay, so I am going to claim that District 1 indeed produces more revenue for the county than District 2 or 3.
Well, I'm saying with
I
economic
got
development,
probably more cows than people in my district. I would probably agree with that.
If I could have the floor.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're already getting a greater amount out of District 1 than District 1 is getting out of your district. Would you agree with that? Just with your community?
it depends on what you say is what you get from it. We all come to Sierra Vista to buy your stuff, to go to the grocery store. Yeah, but that's the only option we have. So we give to Sierra Vista. We go to the movie theaters. We buy groceries. We go to all your restaurants. We go to the mall because nothing. So we contribute to you.
What I'm saying is you're willing, because of your outlook on it, you're willing to take a greater portion of what you want for your community enhancement fund out of District 1 than out of your district.
You're making it like it's millions. I'm talking 50, 40, what was it, $35,000?
He's talking to.
I'm just talking about a principle. You're willing to take more out of District 1 because we have this, we have that, we have the.
Because we contribute to your economy. And we do that because that's the way the situation, we have not had leadership in Douglas and in that area to be able to bring growth back, to bring industry to the area. But once this port of entry opens up, and I'm already talking to the railroads in Mexico and here, we're going to increase our we're going to probably outdo you, but we have to be given the chance. And if it's just 50 or 35,000, it is what allows a little bit of movement and hope that we're going to move to that. I think it's money that Sierra Vista and probably the people that I could talk to in Sierra Vista would say, 35,000, yeah, you know what? Although I may never go to visit Douglas, or maybe I go all the time, that's not much money to be able to provide for people that are the second in the state at poverty level. And if you don't see that government at some times needs to step in, and this is $35,000, then yeah, we do have a difference in our approach to how to govern.
Okay. So if it wasn't $35,000, how much would it be? If you
I
could
wouldn't.
Magic wand.
I wouldn't ask for a lot.
Magic wand.
35,000.
To make things the way you want them to be, how much money do you want?
We've already contributed $5 million into this port of entry. I want to make sure that what money we spent already is going to produce that port of entry so that we can get economic development. I don't want to ask any more money than
All
that.
you ever want is $35,000. Ever.
I probably would ask one other thing, that there be a strategic study that the county did, since we've already contributed $5 million since 2022 to that port of entry, a very small amount to do a strategic plan to bring economic development that deals with cattle, with the minerals, with agriculture, with transportation, with economic development, with medical tourism. We can do so much and generate so much money from that port of entry that it will surpass that study and the $35,000 I'm asking for. Or, you know, I won't run again.
Okay. Madam Gomez, I know that you're absolutely sincere about what you say. So all I'm doing is pointing out, you know, if you want socialism, I'm against socialism.
I'm not, this is not socialism.
I understand. If I can continue.
Okay.
Socialism is a proven economic system, a failure of an economic system. And when we had COVID, we had a very good example of socialized medicine, and people were not happy with it. I don't know if you remember that.
Douglas was completely destroyed by the whole thing.
If you don't mind, that's why I asked you, how much money would you want out of District 1 if you could wave your magic wand? And you're saying it's $35,000 and that's it. You don't want.
Okay, how about this? $35,000 for the enhancement fund and $50,000 for a strategic plan for economic development that addresses all the issues, and that's all I would ever ask for.
We could do that at another meeting to discuss that, and we could pull that out of the contingency funds, the 50K. This is just relative to.
Okay, how about this? What if I meet you halfway and say all I ask is for another 25?
Okay, you can have my 25.
Okay,
Okay.
that's
And
perfect.
Frank doesn't have to give you his.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
We will do that budget amendment.
I thank you very much, Supervisor
No
Crosby.
more bike paths. That's all I.
I will, and
No.
I will show you that your money will be very well spent.
Okay.
Okay?
So I have further discussion if we're done talking.
No, go ahead.
Okay, and I would like to see my inflation and gold slides, please, Madam Lowenheim. You'd be so kind. And I have, see, but there, that's it. That's this chart here, this is a wonderful, wonderful chart if it was rotated 90 degrees and if you own gold. And I don't know if you can rotate that or not, but believe me, it looks like this. And this is a very handy chart, Mr. Antonori, because if you flip it over like that, it represents your dollars going down like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
So
That's so true.
you can just go ahead and continue. And the reason why I wanted to put these up is so everybody can look at this kind of stuff and see, well, why does Crosby think like he thinks? And this is why. This is just the other day, gold prices you can see it is nutty, especially since that's years, July of 15. So you've gone, it's just, gold is skyrocketed. Next slide, please, and you got to rotate it back. Okay, 90 degrees. Thank you so much. So helpful. Okay, so this, and again, this is just so people can make the comparisons that I look at when I'm trying to think about inflation. And so this is from 2022, and this is commodities. And go ahead and proceed to the next one. I'm not going to take a lot of time with this. I just wanted it up there for the public. There you go. Now, in this is commodities now. And so when I look at this, it amazed me that commodities have not gone up that much since 2022. Not like your gold has gone up and your dollar's gone down. So we're looking at a mixed bag economically, in my opinion. And probably what I would call this is irrational exuberance about the gold market, where everybody's going crazy with it. And I don't see that as a commodities thing. I don't see people going crazy with commodities. Let's buy hog sides or whatever they sell. Okay. So, but anyhow, it is a mixed bag. It's hard to tell what's going on. But since it's hard to tell what's going on, to me, that indicates uncertainty, economic uncertainty, where you have gold going crazy and commodities looking okay. Go ahead and proceed to the next slide, which is inflation and health. Oh, that's a good one too. You can scroll through that. So that's fine. Just leave it there. So, I mean, if you're not paying much attention, you think, well, a dollar in 2020 is worth $1.24. That's great. I got dollars. They're all worth $1.24 now. All right. But that's unfortunately not the way reality is. You can scroll to the next one. And so it goes more to tell you what it's your purchasing power. Whatever you thought you were going to spend a dollar to buy in 2020, now you have to spend $1.24. So roughly 25% increase in prices. Go ahead and go to the health department. Keep going. Okay, that's a good one. So let's just look at down to my scribbles. A little more. Stop. Okay. So in 2020, the overall budget for the health department was 6.7. And if you multiply that times 1.24, it is 8.3 million. Okay. So in my opinion, that is what the health department budget should be to keep up with inflation. And the same thing with the so-called general fund subsidy up at the top of that FY20 column. Now you may proceed to the next page, if you please, Ms. Lowenheim. A little more.
Wait, hang on a second. Go back.
Sure.
Was the general fund subsidy about 1.25 point increase?
I'll show you.
Oh, is that what you're going to show?
Yeah. So both of them are actually, okay. So the general fund subsidy compared to 2020 is 54%. And the overall budget is 54%, almost exactly, maybe just a little bit less. But my point is the health department has about twice the inflation adjustment that they should have had.
All right. So special revenue, just looking at this slide right now, special revenue dropped from 10 million down to 7. The budget dropped from 15 down to 12. So I'm trying to figure out, Tom, where are you getting 54% increase?
That's the increase that they realized between 2020 and this year, or their request, is 54% increase from 2.6 to 4.8, 54% increase. And then it's the same down here from 6.7 to 12.4. Madam Gomez, would you care to look at paper instead of the?
Yeah, because I'm not seeing this whole thing.
I wish you'd have brought this up during the
Yeah.
work session, Tom.
Can't do everything.
I know.
But you're the senior one. You should be ready for this.
My concern is the general fund increase.
Supervisors, if I may. I would like to be able to address this with a more thorough response than I can do today,
Yeah.
and provide more of a context of the history of any increase that you're seeing. However, today's budget could be approved, and we can always address any concerns you have regarding cutting anything, although I hesitate to recommend that because I don't know the full scope of what that would require
So
in the future, but
what-
not today.
what I'm seeing is we're seeing grant money and other revenue sources going down, and we're seeing the general fund subsidy going up. So the concern I have is, are we offsetting, like we talked before, certain employees and certain programs that were once funded on grants now being converted over to general fund?
I understand that's what that might lead you to conclude. That's why I want to do more research to provide greater context than I can today. And like I said, we can provide that information and more detail and research in conjunction with the health department to further explain any irregularities that you see. But it does not necessarily have to be that we cut anything today. We can do that later on down the road when we fully know any impacts.
Mr. Crosby.
It seems like when I saw what we we're going to vote on today at the very bottom where all the whereases were done, can you bring that language up? Where we vote on the budget? There's a whole bunch of whereases, and then down at the bottom it says, this is it, this is what we're going to agree on, and we're going to implement it at such and such a date. It does look. Let's see what the language is at the bottom. Be it resolved. Says amendment specifically adoption with this resolution are hereby adopted. So that does not indicate to me that it can be amended again after we vote on it today. Is that correct or not?
It can always be amended throughout the fiscal year as long as we're going down.
Oh, it says included with the adoption of this resolution.
We're just setting the cap.
Correct. And I think should you today make amendments that subject to that, for example, your request to or your offer to Supervisor Gomez for using the community enhancement funds in her district.
So where we can get her money to go do everything but bike paths.
Okay, I heard you.
All right, so let's do this. Let's set up a work session with the health department director and whoever their finance/budget person is to kind of break this cost out for us and explain why the general fund and subsidies going up and the actual additional special revenues going down and why that is the case. So one would think they should either be
Closer to the rate of inflation is
Yeah.
going to double the rate of inflation on their increase.
Well, I mean, you could probably do that with all the other departments too. we've seen significant increases for public works because of the cost of asphalt and chip seal has gone up dramatically because of oil and everything else. I mean, I'm sure
It used to be.
you got the sheriff sitting back there. I'm sure he's seen the hit, and the fleet services and costs, and of course, rates associated with salaries.
Salaries.
Trying to fix that issue, right? So I mean, there's squeezing coming from everywhere, but to get a better understanding, this is just seems to me the way that Mr. Crosby presented it. We're seeing a decrease in grant money, but an increase in general fund spending. And the only concern I have is the agreement was any grant funded position or function or any program that was funded on grants, when that grant money went away, the position associated and the program associated with it went away as well. And I want to make sure we're not offsetting general fund revenue to cover salaries or programs that were eliminated when the grant funding was gone. That's where I'm coming from. So I don't know if that alleviates your concern. I know you're.
Well, if you look at the numbers there, you can see, after COVID, everything just got fat.
Right. And that's my concern. Now that COVID's gone and now that the grant money is gone, why are we still increasing spending in the health department?
And Supervisor Crosby, Chairman Antonori, I do not recall that being the case in my time at the county, that we continued a grant beyond and the general fund absorbed it unless it did receive board approval at that time. Nothing's coming to mind at this moment, but I think that's something we can present further information and delve into those numbers for greater clarification for you.
Yeah, and I'm aware Title 11 allows us to claw money back at any time, Mr. Crosby. So we can approve a budget, and if you want to claw money back,
What does that mean? That the second and third sentence on be it resolved, what does that mean? If it doesn't,
that we're establishing the budget at a total dollar amount of $293,120,335 today. But under Title 11, we're allowed to, during the year, if we so desire, we can't increase that dollar amount, but we could move money and reduce spending in one account and move it over and increase spending in another account if we so desire. So all we're doing today is we're capping our total budget for the year at 293, 335.
okay. Mr. Attorney, could that be clarified to say that that we can reduce it? It seems like there may be one or two words in there that would say we can reduce it instead of included with this adoption of this resolution. That to me says specifically included. That means it's going to stay the way it is, but it should say something like, but it can be reduced or something like that.
I see what you're saying. You're saying the final budget amount not to exceed $293,120,335.
I understand that. I'm just looking at.
I mean, if you just add that
the
not to,
result.
if you add that not to exceed, that's what I'm saying. If you just add those words, then you cover what you're getting at. Because then we could always go less than that.
Mr. Correa, what do you think of that second and third sentence of resolved and how it compares with the language that we're going to vote on as far as making that say that we can reduce?
Supervisor Crosby, I think this language is fine. I hear what you're saying. It does say that this is an estimate, and that authority exists, regardless of how you set the budget. So,
I mean, it's like, for example, in Title 11, if we want to increase road construction funds to put more money in the budget, we have to go somewhere else to find that money. And Title 11 allows us to move money within the general fund throughout the budget.
I understand.
Yeah.
It was only that language.
I get what you're saying.
Like it was written in stone. If it's not, then I'm okay with it.
I don't think it's written in stone because, again, Title 11 allows us to move funding around to include reducing funding as long as we don't go above the adopted amount of 293 million. That's what
And supervisors, we do throughout the year. Stacy does budget amendments for departments within their own lines constantly. So
for unforeseen things that occur, right?
correct.
So that's what I'm saying. So we would have to either pull it out of contingency Or we could reduce it in another department to offset if we have to go spend money somewhere else. Or we can go and have a meeting and we could just reduce that and then put that revenue into the contingency fund. And then we could lower taxes the subsequent year to recover that and give it back to the taxpayers the next year. If you
Mr. Chair,
want to do
I'm
that.
fine with that. And since it does have to do with the final budget, I'm going to change the subject a little bit to what was the list of organizations that we subscribed to called that what's the name of that list?
Our committee memberships. So we have that work session next Monday. We had to move it.
So any alterations to that? Are you familiar with that list?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that is also something that would be affected by that if it was written in stone. But if it's not written in stone, then we can have our work session on Monday and everything will be fine.
Correct. Yes. That's an amendment we can make anytime throughout the year.
And the current amendment of me giving my community enhancement funds to Ms. Gomez district is going to be part of the amendments to it all.
Correct. It doesn't change that overall figure because we're just moving it from one line to another. So we received that board direction today. It doesn't need to be a part of the vote.
And I'd like to clarify that I returned 26,000 back, just to be clear. I did my numbers.
Duly noted, madam.
Thank you very much.
There we go. All right.
So you're getting more back.
Oh, yeah, I should
Okay.
get a refund.
All right. So back to the motion. All right. Is there any additional discussion regarding the motion to adopt the resolution for the budget for fiscal year 25-26?
You do, Supervisor, you do need to, I believe, open that public hearing.
So I got to open the public hearing. I'm sorry. All right. So we had a motion. It was seconded. We had discussion. Now we're going to open the public hearing for public comments. And I don't see anyone requesting to speak. Do we have any requests to speak? No. Anybody want to comment on the budget before we close the public hearing? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? All right. So close the public hearing. Now we're back to agenda item number 2, which is to adopt the resolution 2518 for the final county budget for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount of $293,120,335.
We already moved in second.
We already moved in second. I would like to inform the board that we did have some changes from the tentative in certain line items. We moved some money from contingency into IT to cover some subscriptions that were not previously included in their budget. So that line went adjusted slightly. Overall, the number did not change. It was just a transfer of funds. And we also, through the state, now that the state has approved their budget, we are not seeing great impacts to counties, but we are still recommending that we keep our contingency at that $18.5 or so million for any unintended or unknown issues that occur throughout the year, as we are still understanding state and federal budgets.
Good. You good? Mr. Crosby, any comment? Ready? You ready? Yeah. All right. So the motion before the board is to adopt resolution 2518. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 3-0. The budget for fiscal year 25-26 is approved. Now we have to go to motion number 3. Agenda item number 3. Can I get a motion on agenda item number 3?
Mr. Chair, I move we have a truth in taxation hearing to receive public comment on the proposed increase in the primary property tax levy of fiscal year 2025 to 2026.
Second.
All right. We have a motion with a second. Discussion. I got a discussion. So when we told you to adjust for the rate of 2%. That was just to cover the property tax increase that the previous board did last year, right? They increased the rate 2%. Mm-hmm. So that does not provide a sufficient reduction to eliminate the truth in taxation hearing because
The levy.
the levy, because that went up how much? 2.6 something?
It's on our slide. It's the valuation went up. I think it's 49.9 million was the valuation.
And that's what is that? I mean, how far off are we from getting out of a truth and taxation meeting is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, so we are, gosh, 16% or is it 0.0016 off from no TNT?
It's really close.
15% is close?
No,
No.
zero, zero,
Oh, it's zero? Okay.
yeah, 0.016%.
Like 5%.
No,
A rate, yeah, roughly.
so what is that in dollars?
That would be a difference of, let me grab that real quick.
Making Stacy earn her paycheck today.
Yeah.
That's all right, I don't mind. That would be a further reduction to the levy of $18,642.
Piece of cake, man, whack it.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I say whack it.
Supervisors, if I may, we are already decreasing the budget by 600,000, and we do have increased expenses with the salary increases of 1.5 million. I also caution you, when we look year over year, when you lower the rate and assessed values increase, we're leaving money on the table for county operations. That's my recommendation. I know you have different political views, but I do want to make you aware of that danger.
Oh, thanks for making me aware. Say the 18,000 and what?
$18,624.
Out
You'd
of,
have gave-
how much? How many? Like 293 million? 18,000 out of 293 million?
For the total budget,
Yeah.
yes. I'll refrain.
Okay, so you're saying for the total budget, the percentage is even smaller than 1.5%.
It would
18 grand. 18 grand.
So what percentage is it out of 293?
Good Lord.
Half of that? Half of that? 0.0075?
I mean, we could find 18 grand, Miss Gilman, somewhere. I know what we could find.
No,
18
we're
grand.
not. I'm going to be at every darn meeting and I have to call in.
Well, you're supposed to.
18 grand. I think we should find 18 grand.
We should find it.
Yeah. I
And
think
this
we-
is, I'm sorry, this is to,
It's minuscule. Find 18 grand.
this is a
somewhere.
decrease in the property tax? Is that what you?
Yeah, yeah. It results in a net zero tax increase. So we would not have to do, for 18 grand, we don't have to do a truth and taxation hearing. Nobody's property taxes regarding the county levy will go up at all if we find 18 grand somewhere. We got to,
Cochise College.
If I may, supervisors, so you've already approved the budget, so that's fine. But when we get to the setting the tax rates, we will need to, the tax rate that you are talking about setting would show that reflection. So just
Right.
want to be clear, that's when you
Right.
vote on it.
Right,
would
right,
be
right.
the tax
Right.
rate meeting.
but right now, we could. So what are you saying? You're saying because we already approved the ceiling that we're still required to do the truth and taxation hearing? I would think,
You're doing the truth and taxation hearing right now. So what this is for is that rate to set the levy. So we've already approved a budget with a certain amount of revenue projection
right.
based on a reduced tax rate that the board directed us to use. So if you reduce it further, it'll probably come from, if we need to, we'll pull it from contingency.
We would have to vote on it August 18th.
Correct.
So it's 18 grand. And
Out
nobody
of
gets,
293 million.
and nobody gets a tax increase. I mean, that sounds like a no-brainer to me.
How much do we have in the contingency fund?
Again, it's 18.5 million, I believe, the rounding out.
It should be on the slide. It's 18.56 million.
Primary.
I say do it.
Madam Gomez is happy over there.
I say,
I don't know, kind of happy.
I think we do it. I say we do it. That's just my thing. I don't know. How do we go about doing that? Do we just tell you
Over
to
the
take
levy.
Just when we do the, if I may interrupt Supervisor Gomez or Crosby,
You're hearing these numbers,
Oh,
right?
she is.
Okay.
When-
All right.
when we do set the tax rates, we will present to you the tax rate that you discussed today.
And that's it. So do we vote on that now?
No, you'll vote on in August,
So
on
what
August
about
18th.
Agenda item number 3 then.
This is just the truth and taxation hearing to inform the public that you're considering an increase in taxes, and the public has the opportunity to speak their opinion on it.
But if there's no
Right now.
increase, but there's no increase in taxes.
And we covered our bases because on tentative, we did have that increase. So we had to have a truth and taxation hearing scheduled.
Well, what I'm getting at, do we need to approve this agenda item?
No,
Okay, so we could just table that or just remove it from the agenda.
it's just done.
All right, we will then remove that from the agenda. It's done. All right?
Just, you had it, so you're done.
That was it.
That was it. All right. So I don't have anything else. Any other discussion?
No.
No?
I just want to do, Sharon, Ms. Gilman, a county administrator. or something. I just really desire, feel a deep need to have a work session on the port of entry. Okay, so, and I would want our members to be there. So can we do that sometime in August?
We will get that scheduled.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So the next meeting will be at 1:00 this afternoon. It will be a special meeting regarding litigation involving the Ramsey Canyon Inn, and it may be a possible executive session to discuss legal, I don't know what we call it, legal advice from our attorney involving that case. So without that, any other comment? All right, let's adjourn. We're adjourned.